Good morning, everyone. Today's learning is dedicated to memory of Leah Bas Feivel, Binyamin Akiva, Ben Shlomo Harav Yaakov Tzupin, David Aryeh Tzupin Bas Mordechai, Avram Ben David Slavin, Sipra Feikel Bas Reuven Baruch, Shalom Ben Eli Ali, Ben Bas Feivel from Shan Bas Yaakov Shmuel, Kayla Bela Bas Henech, Yemio Chia Ben Moshe Eliezer, Sarah Malka Bas Binyamin, Shlomo Chia Ben Yosha Halevi, Avram Mordechai Ben Moshe, as well as the York sites for today, Deborah Bas Moshe Grant, David Ben Yosef Carrington, Gila Lazarus, Rachel Bas Menachem Mendel Leshgold, Yeshua ben Mordechai Davis, Aryeh Mordechai ben Simple Snowman, Fagel Bas Beryl Pliskin, Chaim Rafal ben Yosel Wober. Wish each and every one of their respective families long life and only simchas. I hope you can hear me. If someone can put in the chat if they can hear me, because I'm using a new headphones, so I'm not sure whether I'm audible or not. Okay, nobody's written anything yet, so I presume we are. Okay, so we are learning now a Mishnah by Shammai, and Shammai says as follows. Whilst we're waiting for confirmation that we can be heard, good morning to Colin, Peter, David, Michael, Rachel, Caroline, and everyone else who are joining us. Mishnah says as follows. Shammai says, Asei Torascha keva, says, make your Torah fixed. How many times have we heard this? Say little and do a lot. We'll come back to this. Say little, but do a lot. And then the Mishnah goes on to say, you're meant to receive every person with a happy and cheerful disposition. How many times have we heard that? So these are the words not of Hillel, but of Shammai. Shammai, who was of his position in Jewish law, was he took a stricter stance, generally speaking, to Hillel, and he had a different way with him. We know that when it came to the would-be convert, he had a much stricter approach. So let's have a look and understand him. He says, firstly, that your learning, your faith, should be fixed. Now, what that means is not that it should be static, but that it should be fixed. There was a discussion by our sages in, I think it's found in the Ein Yaakov, amongst other places. And the discussion was amongst the sages as to which verse, if you had one verse that encapsulated the whole of the Torah, which verse would it be? So one of the sages said, you know what I think the most important verse that encapsulates everything of Judaism is? It's Shema Yisrael, Hashem Elokeinu, Hashem Echad. Love yourself, you should listen, Israel, love God, right? And He is one. Shema Yisrael, Hashem Elokeinu, Hashem is our God, Hashem is one. That was the most important. The next sage came along and he said that the most important verse in the whole of the Torah was loving your neighbor as yourself. V'ahavta l'recha kamocha. And the third sage came along and he said that the most important verse in the whole of the Torah was the verse that speaks about a verse that many of you may not even have heard of. It's from the passage that relates to the sacrifices. And in it, it states an obligation, a responsibility that there should be daily, every single day, a sacrifice, what we call the Korban Shel Tamid. The Korban Tamid was brought once in the morning and once in the evening every day. And he said that that innocuous verse is the most important that encapsulates the whole Torah. Why, our sages asked? And the answer is because it's the idea of consistency. The most important thing, he said, and everyone agreed with him afterwards, retrospectively, is that we are consistent in the way that we behave, in the way that we live our lives. We all are going to have moments of brilliance, moments of inspiration, moments where of great achievement and accomplishment. I don't think there is anyone here that can't point to moments in their lives when they've had intense, remarkable Jewish experiences as well. It may even be Jewish learning, and they can say, yes, I was really there, I really gained, I acquired knowledge. But the question we have to ask ourselves, and that's why we do this program daily as best as we can, is that the idea is to have fixed consistent learning engagement, because that is the mark of a person. Can you do it day in, day out? You know, the section of the we have the Talmud, and every day it's divided into sections, and there is what's called the Daffy Ome. The Daffy Ome is that it was created by Ramesh Shapira before the war in Lublin, and the idea was that everyone would learn the same page, the same folio of the Talmud around the world, wherever they are. Everyone's on the same page. And that meant, he wrote, he was brilliant, ahead of his time. You've got to think about it. At those times, there was no, communication the way we have it today at the click of a button, didn't exist. He said, but if a Jew travels by sea and he goes from, let's say, Lublin, from Poland, and he goes across to England, and then he goes from England to America, he can walk into a shul and he'll have what to talk about, because everyone will be learning the same thing. That's what connects us. And therefore, the idea that he created is this idea of consistency, that no matter what's going on in our lives, we are able to find a way to fix ourselves to learning, because learning is the thing, which is what we are doing, which really transforms our lives. It's not like acquiring knowledge. Learning of Torah is God speaking to us through the words of the sages. Let's go on, because there is so much more that we can say on this, but right? How many times have we heard of people say, don't do as I do as I tell you to do, right? Or you have a parent the story of the parent that gets a knock on the door, and the mashulach is there, and the parent's always been very particular about lecturing to his children about truth, about emes, about elechkeit, about being a person of honesty and integrity. And he says that as the child goes to the door, he says, tell whoever it is I'm not home. So the child goes to the door, opens the door. The mashulach who's collecting for charity is standing there, and the child he says, I've come to see your father. And the child says, my father told me to say that he's not home. Shuts the door. Look what we have, that parent has imbued in their child, that they have, from trying to impress upon them the importance of honesty, they have imbued in them a ethic of lying, of deceit, of being dishonest. And therefore, it's more important the way we behave, leading by example, modeling the correct behavior, than anything that we are going to say. In 1 second, I'm very conscious of this, because part of what a rabbi does is we have to speak, we have to lecture, we have to give sermons. And you're always very hesitant, because, who am I? I'm not perfect. So how can I possibly tell other people, of the way to behave, when we all have failings? And you're thinking to yourself, that's why in our daily lives, so careful. Try to be as careful as I possibly can about all aspects of life. And so that is a key concept for us with our children, our grandchildren, family and friends, and with all the great speeches, that we've all heard from people. I'm not going to go through the list. It's more what is going to make a lasting impression on the world around us, on the community around us, is the way that we behave. When we are modeling and demonstrating through a personal example of what it means to be a Jew, to be an upstanding member of the community, to be law-abiding, to set an example, to be somebody who is friendly, is greeting other people in the street. That is what it means to be a Jew, and that was what will send the loudest message and signal around the world as to what it means, far more by what we do than what we say. Next part, final part of the Mishnah is that we're meant to receive every person with a happy disposition. In fact, the Gemara tells us that you're meant to see the white of the other person's teeth. In other words, a large smile, so that they are able to have that appreciation. We have no idea. We have no idea what we are capable of. And Shammai, in his great wisdom, recognized in the human psyche that when you give somebody a smile, it is infectious. I'll never forget the words of Rabbi Sachs when he came to our shul and my induction, and he said that King Solomon says, "Kamayim ponim el ponim kein leva adam," that the way we are in our relationships is like looking at one's reflection in the water. The way we behave, any action is reflected by a reaction. The same way that when you move your hand above the water, you notice that it's moving in the reflection. So it is, he says, the way we are to each other, the way we behave to one another is reflected back. If we love each other, that love comes back. We smile at each other, that smile comes back. We're angry or irritable or mean to each other, that comes back. So therefore, it is incumbent upon us to give people a smile. I'm told that it uses less muscles in our faces if we smile than whether we don't smile. And also we know the statement of our sages. We'll get to another statement. Ivdu es Hashem b'simcha. We're meant to serve God through joy and happiness. Now, of course, some people are more smiley than others, but we have to try to have a happy disposition, right? It's not just about the smile, it's about the countenance, about the presence, about being present, and the way we approach other people. It is, so what Hillel is saying, what Shammai is saying is, in essence, is he's saying it's all about our actions. It's about the way we behave. More than what we're going to say, more than our sentiments, it's about the way that we are able to demonstrate these virtues through our lives. Okay, we're going to have to stop there. We carry on with Psalm 23. Lovely to see so many people this morning as we are finishing off our Psalms. Very moving last night. I don't know if anyone was there, but we had I was part of a program in Edgware. It was the 30th anniversary of the passing of a dear classmate of mine. His name was Paul Waterman. He died tragically I think he had a heart attack, had a weak heart, and he was 17 years old. And it was something that left an indelible impression on each and every one of us in the class. In fact, I'm going to try and pull up, whilst I'm doing this, his name, if I can, just to say if we can do that. In the meantime, we'll do the Psalm 23. Okay. Firstly, his name, Shlomo Moshe Natan Lev ben Shimshon. We also want to dedicate our learning this morning to him. Okay. So carry on. The Lord is my shepherd, I shall not want. He causes me to lie down in green pastures. He leads me beside still waters. He restores my soul. He leads me in the paths of righteousness for his name's sake. Even as I walk in the valley of the shadow of death, I will fear no evil, for you are with me. Your rod and your staff, they comfort me. You set a table before me in the presence of my adversaries. You anointed my head with oil, my cup overflows. May only goodness and kindness pursue me all the days of my life, and I will dwell in the house of the Lord for the length of days. Adon Olamim Zacho Es Nishmos Le'abas Vaivo Binyamin Yakiva Ben Shlomo Rami Yakutsu Ben David Aryeh Sivi Bas Mordechai Avram Ben David Slavin Sipra Begel Bas Ruben Baruch Shalom Ben Eleli Ben Bas Vaivo from Shoshan Bas Yaakov Shmuel Caleb Ben Bas Henach Yom Yochio Ben Moshe Eliezer Sarah Martha Bas Binyamin Shlomo Yechia Ben Yeshua Levi Avram Mordechai Ben Moshe, as well as the Yortzeit of Moshe Grant, David Ben Yosef Carrington, Gilligat Lazarus, Rachel Bas Menachem, Mendo Leshkod, Yeshua Ben Mordechai Davis, Aryeh, Mordechai Ben Simcha Sneman Fagel, Bas Beryl, Piliskin Chaim Rafal Ben Yosef Woba, Shalach Ruli Lamam, Began Aiden Teimanucha, Sam Lachin Balarachamim, Yati Vein Besesa Kanafabilamim, Viesavasachet Ishma Savadina, Nachlasam, Yanuka Shalom Shkavam Ben Amar, Amen. Long life wishes to all. Lastly, for Shlema prayer. Misha Berach Avsinu Avram Yisrael Yaakov Moshe Aaron David Shlomo Yivarech Rabbi Zacholim Bavu Shana Mispalim Bavu Ram Pit Chosei Kadosh Baruch Hu Yimali Rachum Yolehem Lachmal Avosam Mishlach Lem Fushon Shmaim Lacholvim Besov Shach Yisrael Rufu Asa Nefesh Rufu Sakov Hashtag Baruch Rip and Amar Amen. We've hit the record, I think. 18. We're up there with joint. We were for a second up there with 18, which was our record, and we did do Psalm. I think we did do the Psalm, didn't we? Mervyn, we didn't do the Psalm. I thought we did do Psalm 23. Yeah, we did do it. So please, God, keep encouraging people to come along. It was a fascinating Mishnah by Shammai this morning. Last of the week is tomorrow, and then Friday we go to Kabbalat Shabbat with David Berman. Everyone have a great day. Keep safe, keep well. Look after yourselves. All the best.